generally speaking, the specs are your bullets, and they have to be solid.
Yeah.
I know one thing that I did early, again, when I was writing with a partner early on, I was really compulsive about, when we wrote like a Spec Seinfeld and a Spec Simpsons, and what I would do is I would sit down and not just watch the episodes. I would take notes, and I would try to quantify everything that was quantifiable about the show. I would say, how many scenes are in the show? How long are the scenes? How long is this character's lines? What kind of lines does Jerry tend to have? And I had a yellow pad, and I would write down all of Jerry's lines, just his lines, for in a whole episode. And then I would be able to go, oh, look, all his lines have this kind of rhythm, or there's 3 kinds of jokes that Kramer tends to have. They're all sort of structured the same. Like anything I could analyze and quantify, I would, and even how many swing sets, what kinds of stories do they do, and it's incredibly tempting, always, but I think particularly when you're starting, to just go with some idea that you fall in love with. But the smart thing to do with spec scripts is make sure the idea you fall in love with is right for that show and doesn't make the show feel like some weird thing that you cooked up, but feels like that show. The best compliment that my old partner and I used to get on our early spec scripts was, I feel like this is an episode of the show I never saw. And I think that was largely because we were so compulsive about that breakdown of all those components that you actually can quantify. And then you go, all right, I'm going to start writing those kind of jokes. I'm going to tell those kind of stories. There's a lot of good but very common advice about spec scripts, like don't make your story about some wacky outside character that you think is wonderful but isn't organic to the show. There's a lot. Oh, and also, most people probably know this, but when we talk about these spec scripts for this show, these are writing samples. You're never going to try to sell an Orange is the New Black script to Orange is the New Black. It's just a way to show people that you can write in that style. So it's all the more reason to copy that style as effectively and compulsively as possible. Once in a blue moon, you hear some story about, there was a guy, I met a guy who had sold a script to one of the Star Trek shows, and it was a spec, but they read it and went, oh, we actually want to do this episode. It's very, very rare. It's generally just a writing sample, because people want to see that you can write in other people's styles, because hopefully if you can, then you can write in their style, because that's what they want.